And there we go. All right. We are being recorded, everybody in the room, so
I
they know.
didn't answer because I wanted to be first, not second.
I also need to get the minutes. I got a couple of cases I got to process. The minutes are sitting over there, if you want to. There's a signature page on the back that I'll provide. You can get signatures.
I got one correction I need to make.
Oh, God, you're brand spanking new, and you're already.
You found it?
Well, yeah, like the date. What else did I do?
Number 7, noted that the Sewer Conservancy was holding 2 allocated spaces for these properties, and this would make it so that only, period. Would make it.
Who wrote down?
I'm surely a highly educated, well-motivated individual who honestly made an innocent error, that's all. All right.
Are we
It would make
ready?
it one space.
We are, sir.
We need formal then?
We are. You are, Mr. Acting President.
Call us to order. First item of business is to repeat what has already been said, which is that we are being recorded, so bear it in mind. I invite you to stand and join the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please.
John Crist.
Present.
John Houghton.
Yes, sir.
Dan Osborne.
Present.
Chester Hughes.
Present.
John Miller.
Present.
Any of our members online?
No, we do not. Number 6.
I will entertain motions to correct the minutes from the January 20th, 2026 meeting.
Under item 7, where it says Mr. Crist noted the Sewer Conservancy was holding 2 allocated spaces for these properties, and this would make it so that only would be 1 lot.
So the correction would be to add the words "one lot."
1 lot, or 1 space.
Any objections? Hearing none.
Okay. The other corrections, I need to go through and check the dates. Because I know in at least one place, for example, call to order, I said we were called to order on January 20th, 2025. It's like we're signing a check with the wrong year.
Yeah.
So I need to go back and make sure those are correct too. They have 2026 reflected.
Noted.
My apologies.
No worries. With those corrections, do we hear a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
Motion to approve, that's correct.
Second. Moved and seconded. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, would you like sign? Ordered. I understand there are no hearings.
We do have one in the portal for next month, just to update you guys. We're processing it and it will be live. It looks like just seems like a cut and dry subdivision case, but let that be decided by you as I bring it in.
Item 5 on the agenda then is a discussion of accessory dwelling units. So
that would be me. We had a discussion, obviously, the last couple of meetings and an appetite to revisit. Prior to Steve leaving, he was working on essentially a new ordinance to fit within our Article 6 development of standards within our Code of Ordinances that accounted for accessory dwelling units. I resurrected, with the help of Don, this supposed or sample, let's call it a drafted proposal. I'm not suggesting this is the language we use, nor is it in finished form. It is only as a way of starting the conversation. I think the first order of business, in a sense, is, are we willing to engage in this? And that's a real question, because we don't want to spend time and frequency unless we have a sincerity of bringing to life an accessory dwelling unit, and well-defined and usable within Culver. That's a real question, right? And I think it fizzled out with Steve, to be honest with you, and the Planning Commission, simply because I think there was some pushback.
Well, and we used to have a guest here a few times. He'd come in and ask how that was going, and, yeah.
But there's obviously, like everything else, there's cost benefit, right? Nothing is inherently good and nothing is inherently, well, I won't go that far, but you get my point. The question we have to answer is it correct and useful and manageable within Culver? Does it fit within our comprehensive plan would be a great barometer to use. Secondly, what does enforcement and governance of this look like? And what are some of the unintended consequences of this? Trying to be thoughtful about what we might create from doing something like this, and trying to be a little forward thinking. I don't know, and that's why I'm asking. I mean, I listed some things out that I think are key issues to this, and the first one is there for a reason. What is the ADU's relationship to the primary residence, right? What subordinates it to the primary? If it's an accessory dwelling, the intention here is that it can never be divorced from the primary dwelling, would be my assumption, correct? Okay. That's important to know, because obviously one of the concerns is we develop these things, and then now we've got in an R1 district, we now have two houses essentially sitting on the same lot. And what happens what stops the subdivision in the future from that, especially if it has its own utilities and being sold off as its own unit? Is that a bad thing if we're trying to get density of housing, if that's part of our intention here? These are questions.
We have a lot of small lots, but this isn't even kind of possible.
That's tough.
I mean, there are lots that are, of course, but a lot, it's not even a kind of possibility.
Well, we had one come before the BZA a few months ago.
One at the corner of South Main and Marmont, or no?
Down on the southeast corner of 10 and 17 on northwest end of town.
And there is one currently on the Marmount, where they used to cook the pizza. And
Yeah,
they
that guy's
before.
been on hold for us for.
They've been on hold. He's knocking on my door again. What do I do?
Well, understand.
Yeah, I can't tell. It's a garage right now with the livable. I mean, he's already had it plumbed, right? So how am I enforcing that? What am I looking at? What are his options? And I said, the other option is the R2, which there's R2 all over down there.
Right.
And then be considered spot zoning.
And in his case, that's actually what he asked for.
That's exactly right. Right?
Yeah, we put him off, but he came in asking for an R2. If I'm remembering it correctly, I think that's the case.
You're absolutely right, Bill. Is that something that, instead of doing an ADU ordinance, is that something we're willing to look at? Is saying, okay, if that, in that case, are we going to let them reapply for rezoning? Then you have R2, which what we're talking about becomes not special use underneath the ordinance.
If I remember rightly, again, this is almost 2 years ago, so chances are I don't remember rightly, but we were concerned when the Willie's old house there on State Street came up, north of the fire station. The issue was, if we made it an R2, then could somebody come in and build a set of condos on that lot, tearing down both of the existing places?
The answer is yes.
And the answer is yes, all right.
Yeah.
But we didn't think that was a hot idea for that particular site, at least.
There's small variances between R1 and R2 in terms of allowable usage, but that's one of them.
It sounds like ADU would be turning everything into an R2 instead of an R1. The R1, R2 is all R2.
No, there's a critical difference.
Yeah, there is.
And I want to go back to the comprehensive plan. Here, this is the language from the comprehensive plan strategies. Short term, review and update Culver zoning ordinance to reflect goals of this comprehensive plan, e.g. allowing diverse types of housing options, densities, and mixed use in downtown and the entertainment character area, and allowing accessory structures and dwelling units in a range of lot sizes. So, last I checked, we are kind of duty bound to execute the comprehensive plan, if we want to stay on the commission.
That's
Of course,
why.
our appointing authorities can always replace us and find people who want to execute the contract.
Hence why I referenced the comprehensive plan as a starting place.
So, I mean, in my opinion, whether it's with the state legislature or with our own comprehensive plan, the ship has sailed on whether we're going to have ADUs. The question is, are we going to get the opportunity to regulate them, or is the legislature going to take that away from us?
Well, the absence of that, knowing that might be a long decision for a hearing, because there's some side chambers going on right now with that bill, and some conversations. Regardless, let's stick with the comprehensive plan at least, and that's a governance for us. If it's going to tell us ADUs are a thing, that is something that we need to manage. I think we need to get to the order of managing it. Very similar to solar, of what we did with the solar ordinance that we adopted. I think having something in place that's comprehensive, that, well, let's rephrase that, comprehensive is ridiculous to say that, that's governing, that allows for governance on this. At the very least, as I look through this, I think those questions, I think 1 through 5 are questions, I would take 5 out because we've got, we just articulated why. I think 1 through 4 are real concerns that need to be within the language. And I think some of them are. We may be happy with this. We may want to look at it. I'm not really happy if you look at this sample ordinance, and I'm just trying to direct eyes right now. One of the issues that I have is with utilities. I think we need really clear language on the utilities and the relationship with the utilities. I think that also helps the governance of it. I would also come back, and this is an open session, so you guys can, audience, if you guys are okay with it, and acting president, the future use as well. How to govern that future use in terms of prohibiting sale and having that divided. I think we have the mechanism. We just don't allow the divorcing of that property into its own separate lot.
Isn't that what?
Yeah.
I know right now, this is something new as far as I can remember, as far as what we talked about before. When you, just on the start, where you say regulations, section shall apply to ADUs, accessory dwelling units, whether attached or detached. And, I mean, accessory dwelling unit in itself does not really recommend an addition onto the existing house to have that. Right now, it's been allowed in R2 because you can have more dwellings, whatever, more. But under this right here, if you have it as accessory dwelling units, you're talking about as far as R1 being close to R2, you still got your setbacks. That's going to require that. So you're going to be restricted more with R1 from doing ADUs, which may not, according to what Don's pointing out, as far as it might limit what we can do as far as what the comprehensive plan wants, but we would still be doing what can be controlled by our ordinances as well, as far as setbacks and everything else. If it does, I mean, you're going to have different utilities for the same structure when it's called accessory dwelling units. I mean, that's going to cause a complication as far as meters on one structure, 2 sewer, 2 water.
No. Here's my question, and it rises out of what Barry just spoke. Do we need 2 separate definitions? Do we need to define an accessory dwelling as something that's attached to the primary residence, the existing dwelling, which would be separate in terms of how we regulate utilities, because it would be, there's less issues with that. And then a dadu would be a detached accessory dwelling unit. And I think that's more the concern than somebody converting a garage into a living space or an in-law suite off the side, which would normally be considered
A renovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we're really talking about is dadus. We're really talking about a structure that's detached from the primary residence, I think, unless I'm confused.
Another thing to think about too might be the homestead deduction eligibility of it. Since it currently says you can only take a supplemental homestead deduction on your primary residence.
The operative word is primary, John. They will not be able to qualify, the Dadu improvements would not be considered part of that primary residence. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
But I guess what I'm getting at is, an accessory dwelling such as a detached garage on a property would qualify for your supplemental homestead.
Well said. I see your point.
So I don't know, how the powers that be would feel about something like this.
Would you? No, you wouldn't. I was thinking like mail, you wouldn't really be able to have unless you did like 607.5.
Right.
For that place to have its
Right.
own,
A and B.
A and B.
Yeah,
A and B.
There you go.
That's where you'd be at, more than likely.
My grandmother's house on Akron Street was 815.5 Obispo.
Yeah. The taxation is something that luckily is the county, but still, we would have to have an understanding of it. If you ran its own separate utilities to it, I would assume that the county would consider that not to be part, or the state would not consider that to be a homestead primary.
Same owner, same property, I bet they would.
You think so?
I would think so.
I can put that call in, actually.
Mr. Berger, you going to say something a minute ago?
I guess I'm questioning why we care.
Right, that's kind of where I was going.
Yeah.
Kevin, like, it's the county's
The
issue.
point of it is that the reason we're looking at doing this is to try and create some more housing and a little bit of density where it applies.
Fair.
So the tax situation doesn't change what we're trying to accomplish by doing ADUs or DADUs, either one, it's the same thing. I think the important thing is, and I would support putting the utilities together, because that just precludes the opportunity of doing a subdivision without, there would have to be more to it than doing a subdivision. There would not be a sewer line. The town would definitely have to know if they did a subdivision, so it brings it immediately to attention because there wouldn't be sewer to that property. The little bit of a piece in there that you might want to include, just a note somehow that says that you can't condo it either, because you can have a condo that doesn't have anything except the interior sold to somebody else. You might want to try and preclude that too. But again, it's still going to be subsidiary if you keep the utilities running through the main structure.
Is there any other way to, so let's talk about pre-existing properties in town that have already divided it, and they want to bring this in as an accessory dwelling. How would is there some management tool to that preclude or excludes any type of future subdivision of that property? Division of the lot, essentially.
I don't know of anything that would preclude it at this point, but you could, just like you do when you make people combine lots, you could make them redefine it if they do any type of building permit to try and make renovations to it.
Yeah, and I think there's a mechanism, they would have to come before for them.
You, and you would have to
There's a
grant them
process.
that.
Yeah.
So that would be, if there is a building permit issued, you can deny the building permit if they don't do what you ask them to, as in what you do with lot combinations now.
With minimum lot size, I would think that'd be pretty rare to even be.
Well, in the minimum lot sizes, also, you're going to get into the impervious surface.
Yeah, that's-
So that kind of controls where you're
Yes.
saying some of these lots are really small.
Yep.
They're using their impervious surface already, so
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to do it without coming in for variance or
That's
something
right.
else.
That's right.
This is mainly looking at the bigger lots.
It is.
That's why when you're looking at R1, if that lot's combined or divided either way, you're looking at the size of that lot as far as what you can actually build.
Like the old Pearson lot that came in, that makes sense, it's a bigger lot. The lot north of that makes sense, that's a huge lot. The lot south of that, no way. There's no room on that lot to hardly do the house that's there.
That's right. There's a few that are big enough, they're actually petitioning to be subdivided,
subdivided.
replatted, yeah. But that's one coming in next month, we'll hear.
I got one more thing.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
sorry.
if I could. I mean, not to interrupt. But you also, in this, you've got the size of the ADU restricted to a minimum of 350 and 1,000 square feet.
Yes, sir.
I mean, what's our minimum and maximum on our home sizes now as far as an ordinance?
Honestly, I can't tell you right off the top of my head,
Because
but
I
I
thought
know
it was
there's,
like 750 square feet was a minimum.
yeah, I would have to look that up, Barry, but it's a good question.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're looking at, if they only got the room for a 350 foot to meet setbacks, whatever,
Yep.
now you're allowing the lot itself to, as far as control what we're talking about before, as far as what it's able to do. To be able to sell a lot with a small house on it, that doesn't meet the required house size right there. You're gonna go back and say it's grandfathered in? No, it was only grandfathered in if it stays as an
With the-
ADU.
Yeah,
That's right.
So, I mean, the zoning itself would stop, control what you're saying as far as being able to control that, as far as somebody coming up and saying, hey, I want to sell this, whatever. Well, we can't sell it, so we can't make it an R1 because it doesn't match for R1.
And I'm pretty, I mean, as long, and this is where I think it needs to be governed, that when they put the accessory dwelling on the property, it has to be one lot. Some of these properties are in two lots under one cart. And if they build it on that second lot, there's nothing stopping them except for common utilities, which are easily split off by a new homeowner, of selling that off someday as a property. So I think there might be a consideration of that if you're gonna put an accessory dwelling, it has to be on the same lot as the primary, possibly.
not just the same combined property. for tax
Not the
purposes.
same, not the same combined property, because you can have a property that's comprised of two lots.
Or three. In some
Or
cases
three,
that happens
that's a
in-
minor
yeah.
subdivision, right, up to three, is
Yeah.
a minor with no, yeah.
Just trying to say something.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the benefit to somebody doing that would be. Why wouldn't they just split the lot and build a secondary, that's not how.
Well, go back to what I just said about tax reasons. If they're on the same lot,
Okay.
then they can be considered on the homestead as the primary.
Yeah.
If you build on the separate lot, I think they would consider that, I'm not sure, Kevin, but would that, or is that still the same parcel?
No, that would be a separate, that really
And
takes
they're-
the primary out.
There you go. And that's why I'm saying that.
The only advantage is to doing it, if you were really going to use it as a separate piece, is you save on all your base rates.
Yeah.
You know, your water rate, your sewer rate, your utility rate, all that stuff. If you're running it through the primary, you save a little bit on that, particularly if it's the vacation house thing, not actually a dwelling unit you're gonna rent out, but the one where my family comes on the 4th of July and I want the extra space for them a little bit separate. Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be paying on that all year, the base water rate, all the other things?
And we're creating a rental situation, we'll do a separate conversation maybe, but,
Well, that's a given.
yeah, for sure.
That's a given.
Hard to follow that.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
I think I could store, if I still had the chicken coop on my north lawn, I could probably rent that out.
Certain weekends.
The one other thing I would suggest too is if as we move forward, if we do move forward with it, where do we put it within the governance of R1? And do we make it a special use? The reason to make it special use is there's pros and cons. Special use gives you the governance of the thing. They would have to come before you and ask for the use of it, the ADU, the creation of it. Problem with that is they have to come before you and ask for, so you're creating more course or load work for yourself, but it's also giving you a check into hearing each specific case to make sure that they're in compliance of. Talk to me, Goose. I'm throwing it on the table for a reason, gentlemen.
No, I mean, we could make it a special use and grant your successor the right to hear those particular special use cases. We've done that we did that with the business about combining lots not too long ago. So, but yeah, it's more work for somebody, just not necessarily more work for us in particular.
True. If you get it all the way you want it, then it shouldn't, you're talking about a variance type of thing if it's a special use. This may not fit, we're gonna make an exception kind of thing, it's a special use. If you've got it defined the way you want it, the building commissioner ought to be able to make that determination that it meets the setbacks and meets everything that we ask for.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what it is or how benign it is, you know there will be neighbors coming in and protesting, so do you want to have to deal with that?
And that's,
or
and
just
there's,
let it go?
and there's the, let the tax governor not the body. If they come in here, there's too much same reason why we're moving away from a sewer forgiveness policy that has to be here by
Yep.
you let the tax governor. There's merit to that, I think.
Did you start to say something?
No, it's been discussed. Got it.
Kevin, what is documented as far as any time a special use is permitted? Where do you come back as far as checking any property that has a special use to do whatever it is that they request a special use for?
You asking me
Yeah,
what I do?
I'll ask the whole board.
I was gonna say, because there ain't jack I've done
I
at this
mean,
for
does
2 months,
anybody,
but
I've never addressed that question, and I don't guess I've ever heard anybody ask that question.
well,
I know Steve was really pushing pretty hard for this to be a special,
yeah.
and not having an ordinance for it, but
I think the one special use case that really has been in my radar since I've started here is it's down at the executive storage with that C1.
do you remember Dan or Don? I know you're the,
You know,
I mean, if somebody comes and gets a special use for this, and they sell it, both units, whatever, and somebody else gets it, then they want something else that's under a special use permit. Where does that special use permit show up in the selling? I mean, does it go to the county and it comes
Well,
up
I
and
think
it's got a special permit?
It does get recorded.
Huh?
I think it gets, I think that at least the
I know it's in a minute,
storage got recorded with the property, but
How often do they go back
I'm
on
guessing,
the minutes
Kevin.
and see if there's a special use?
I think it's in the Plan Commission's minutes, I think that's where.
That's the only record.
That's the only way
That's the
you
only
got it.
record, which is official, but it's not very searchable or.
certainly not.
If I'm selling the property, there's nobody who isn't the property attorney, but if I'm selling the property, is the fact that I have a special use a condition that I'm required to disclose to the buyer?
I don't think it is. That's the reason I bring this up.
Yeah, I
because,
understand,
mean, the board here is looking at whether it's going to be a special use.
That's an interesting point.
but the special use would run for the property, not for
Right.
the first.
It would be.
Yeah.
That might be an argument why not to make it a special use too, Barry, just write it out, get a word, and then make it a norm.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
quite
not
frankly,
arguing
you're creating
either
an
way, I'm just
administrative
saying.
enforcement error for, I mean, that'd be a nightmare.
Someone 50 years from now
Oh,
wants
my
to know
God.
what to get
Right.
the property. Yeah.
We ran into that
Yeah.
50 years ago.
Yeah,
A lot.
it's,
I swear there
Yeah.
used to be a street here, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
right,
Heard that one too.
and right up by the trail. They called me about that county road that doesn't exist.
It'll be interesting cleaning up some of the old ones too.
Oh, for sure.
This
Well, that-
this
that's
board
not-
recently rezoned Karen Himes' house to R2 to kind of make it fit, because we didn't have this type of thing, but it's very clearly what we're talking about. It's a primary
It's an ADU.
structure with a secondary ADU on it,
Yeah.
with the similar utilities and the whole thing, so.
Cleanup of existing R2, and we're talking about, that's on my list of things to bring to you guys tonight, but A1, yeah, right? R1 ADU, okay, that's good.
We've had several instances like it too.
So in the spirit of being somewhat focused,
Just one further question on
Yeah.
R1. Do you mean, when you say R1, literally R1, so it's the exclusion of L1?
I'm not limiting, I apologize.
S1?
I apologize, my mind's on R1.
Okay,
That doesn't mean excluding, because I think the language of the proposal
okay.
of the ordinance also includes L1, S1, A1
Okay.
districts. And I appreciate you pointing that out. And that may be something we, in future dates, work this out, but summary-wise, here's what I've got so far. Yes, because it's in the comprehensive plan. And I think it's something that it's gonna fit with some of the needs. Number two, the size is something that still can be discussed. And Barry brought up a good point about minimal sizes. Also, utilities, Kevin added the point in favor of splitting it, but I think that's something worth still having a conversation about and seeing what logistically. Would like to bring in utilities as well for the town and see, I don't think that, and billing, to make sure, because I don't know there's a perspective there that I haven't heard. Does that cause any billing issues up front with our utility clerks? What does that look like? I would say no. Well, I think it would be easier.
And would you
Yeah,
tap
single
off?
meter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that would be for them, because would you tap off the same line coming to the main residence?
That's what I want to ask.
But
Just
then if you don't think you have enough water, you're gonna have to put in a bigger one or a second one anyway. But under the
That's the
same bill.
homeowner's problem.
But yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it is their problem.
They're the ones that want to. But yeah, utilities is, we're kind of thinking split, but
No,
talk.
we're thinking combined.
Combined, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Split
right.
as in not separate.
Yes, and there's many reasons why that also helps. We're thinking about it, in order to be considered an AU or a DADU, it has to be on the same lot,
Yes.
not parcel number.
Correct.
Fire separation is something we'll get to, but, and then parking, obviously. But there sounds like, yeah, all right.
The one thing we didn't mention is height, which I assume people who know about those things know something, but didn't actually mention it.
That's part of the, yeah, the
Part of the
zoning
zoning.
requirements, essentially.
So that's 35 foot.
Yeah.
S1 though,
Because it's accessory.
isn't S1 raised under height?
Would suggest that, going along with what Barry said, that the accessory unit should be smaller and not as tall as the primary. So it is-
Governed by the accessory dwelling.
It is a
It can't be-
subsidiary
it can't be
unit, so
higher
it should
than
not
the
end up
primary.
being bigger than the primary unit.
Now,
Otherwise, it'd just be an
here's the
accessory
question,
building.
if they want to build a new primary and use the current facility as an ADU, once they finish the new house.
Stop.
We're gonna hear all kinds of stuff.
No, somebody will ask
Fine.
that sooner or later.
But
yeah.
if they're building a new primary, then it's bigger and it's fine.
Okay.
If they take the current building though and cut.
If you want to live in the apartment and rent your house, more power.
I mean,
I know people do.
the challenge that went down that road, I mean, I think, let's think about West Shore, right? We have two, and only because those are single parcels, as I understand it.
Yes.
So we've got a single story on the lakefront, and we've got the garage and the living unit across the street. It's a 2 stories.
Right. All right.
I don't know, potato, potato. I mean, what,
And those are all, so, this is a question I should know the answer to. If I have a house, let's say where the gravel pit used to be, and I have something else in the lake, those are actually 2 separate lots,
Yes.
right? The state road
The
divides.
state road,
the two lots.
the old, that's my mom's place, that.
In some
They kinda
cases, yes,
use
in
it,
some
yeah.
cases, no.
Yeah, Jim Easterday will come in and argue that.
It's yeah, it depends on that old rail bed that goes through there. It's interesting.
Well, plus it's only a right of way, it was not a dedicated right.
Well, and I'm gonna tell, you guys wanna hear an answer that's long, I'll keep it short. My mom and grandparents went through a whole, in the 80s, they had a lawsuit with Montgomery's who lived across the street, across Old State Road, 17 from them, and they made the argument when they split that railroad that my parents were given that property because they were the adjacent property owner. They had first right of refusal, they bought it, and he came back and sued them, lost, sued them again, or took it, appealed, and got the appeal, and they said, they allowed that as if old 17 didn't divide the property. So yeah, I know firsthand that happens, so get the right lawyer, get the right situation.
That happens.
And Easter Day represents.
But not in every case.
No, not in every
And I
case.
know that because of the Conservancy, Southwest Conservancy, that some of them are separate parcels and some of them are part of the lakeside parcel.
But I think in this case, defining it on the same lot. as an ADU.
Talking about that, we had that case when they were trying to build that house. Come to find out, the landowner actually owned the street in that case.
Okay.
So that
There you go.
that might have been their argument as to why
It could be.
we're entitled to,
Sure.
half of that right of way. I'm just
Sure.
saying, do you remember that, Barry?
Yeah.
And you're going, how can they, we got to, be a little careful here, they own the road.
Be on the road.
Yeah.
So where do your setbacks
So you're
come from?
responsible for the maintenance of that road?
I guess so.
Probably, yeah.
You cut the tax from it?
Right,
Motor
yeah.
vehicle tax?
I'm just saying, we'd never come across anything like that. They actually own the road.
For the house.
Think
the
it's below.
setback.
You go down West Shore.
28
Um,
feet is for setback.
Okay,
For the
so,
road.
is there anything else under item 5, which was the ADU item, before we go on to zoning ordinance revisions, which I suspect will still be Mr. Donohue?
Yeah, who's just blabbing his mouth off. With your permission moving forward, do you mind if I take this document and maybe incorporate a few things that we talked about tonight into specific language, fleshing it out and kind of as a zoning ordinance and put another draft in front of you? Make progress, yeah. That's okay with you guys?
Yes, right.
There's, I just know one other typo.
Yeah.
Embarrassed to say, but on the size.
Yes, sir.
Number 2.
Yes, sir.
It said dados shall not exceed 100 square feet. This would be a New York City apartment.
Or Paris, your
There's
choice.
a missing zero there.
Yes,
That's
I
what
know.
is.
I was gonna correct that.
Particularly since the data
Oh,
is
yeah.
detached.
I didn't know what that is.
It was a lovely 10 by 10. We called it quaint. And then there were-
Can I say one thing?
Yes,
on that?
that way.
Yeah.
You know, in the past, we talked about amending our ordinances and stuff, and I mean, we'd already presented some and had those approved. But one of them that we had been discussing, and I know Steve and I probably discussed this more than the board, but we were talking about, you know, in the past, you know, how our ordinances got messed up going to the county when it came across and everything. A lot of you all might know about it, but there was a lot of changes and stuff. Used to be an ordinance that you could only have one primary house on one property. And it has been deleted from our ordinances somewhere along the line in that process between doing here and doing the county. You remember that, Dan? And I know we were talking about that being one of the amendments we were going to address. But if that's not addressed prior to this, doesn't that change really what the opportunity this is without
Now, would that just be for R1?
R1?
Yeah,
But you've got it for R1, L1, S1.
I agree. Let me look into the, let's bring that to the next meeting if we have time.
Talk to you.
Let's bring
I
it to the
can't
next
go
meeting if we have time. Sorry, guys.
Don't ask me, he thinks you're involved.
No.
Yeah, the reason I say that, under the no ordinance prohibiting more than one, right now, I mean,
Right,
I hate to
I would-
have it recorded.
It might be to my
but
advantage to
you know,
build 2
you're-
primary residences and be done with it.
Yeah, 2 primary.
Right.
Yeah, because I think the language in most of them are, with the exception maybe of R2, is a single-family primary. But I don't, that's not the same thing as what you're saying, Barry.
Right, no, it's not.
It's not.
I
So,
mean, I know in R2, I mean, just like, well, right there on South Ohio Street, Donna Johnson put the apartments, whatever, dwelling, 2 dwelling, you know, whatever on that apartment. There's no other dwelling on that property other than that. But, yeah, but when you're talking L1, if this includes L1, right now, really what prohibits, whether it's Easter Days, Skyline, whoever wants to build 2 homes on a big enough lot, what's going to prohibit that right now?
You will add that to your comments for next month.
yes. And it goes beyond the conversation of ADU.
Understood.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on into item 6, zoning ordinance revisions update. And back to you, sir.
It was quick. I'm moving along with the update. Steve did have it in a Word file. That Word file is getting cleaned up by me. So a little bit of restructuring, spacing, font changes, and basically we're stripping. So your old ordinance book with the pretty pictures, everything done. It's going to be a simple, plain, white piece of paper on a Word document. Same title, same organizational schematics. First order, second order, headings, all that good stuff. I am, for the electronic version, putting internal links. So essentially, if you want to go to Article 4, you go to the front, there's the indices, you hit Article 4, it takes you right there. So you're not having to scroll through. Making it user-friendly, if there's a reference to an Indiana code or something, I actually the code to the website, so you can just click the link and it takes you there. Try to do little things like that. I am currently just finished, I just finished Article 6. That was a labor of love. And getting pictures formatted and everything inside of it. Hitting Article 7, I'm sure, tomorrow with a smile on my face. So should have it done by March and post just in time, right? In the meantime, we've adopted it. It's there. I put the revisions online and with the existing one, so we're still functional.
When you say we, you mean the town board?
100%, everybody. There's something to be used, and I direct people still if they have questions to it. And had a few questions on it, but nothing serious. Blending into town managers updates, get this over with. It's Kevin Dante's show. I talked a little bit with Kevin prior to the meeting, and just getting some thoughts. There was one issue up on Bradley Court of a property leveling. They've raised the property 3 foot with fill, and they did take they took height at the demolition, so they raised it from that height and they built accordingly. The house is only going to be 29-foot structure, so they're well within the 35 foot because that all counts. Any raised fill and the house structure can't be above 35. They're, at least the site plan says that's what they're doing, and if you eye it, it looks like it. And a little bit of an issue with the neighbor to the north because they're sitting, that retaining wall top is at 771.8 and their property is at 768. And one small swale on their it'd be on the southwest of that property. There's a small swale just north of the retaining wall. I don't know if he's going to fill back that little swale and then make it level with the retaining wall. And we talked. Right now, the 2 neighbors are still talking about it. That's good. I prefer that, but I think it was an interesting issue with Phil. I would also say that it's an isolated issue. I haven't had a lot of people complaining or talking about drainage issues, apart from around certain draining pipes going out to roads. That hasn't been a topic, but it might be something that's on our radar at a future date, just keeping an eye on it.
Kevin, I just missed, did you say this is on the South Shore?
It is on Bradley Court.
Bradley Court, sorry.
No, you're fine, Don. I talk fast. Trying to get out of here, we got work to do. Sorry. That's right, buddy. Priorities. The other thing that, with the changes that we made with the ordinance, one of the changes that might have impact is with the S1, 35 foot from 50. A lot of the agricultural properties, especially to the southwest of town, were brought into the 2-mile zoning as S1 because, according to Russ Mason, and please throw that in there, they were brought in before we had A1, and this was a necessity. I know that we had some very passionate farmers a few years back during the comprehensive plan speaking about this. Yeah, you probably do, Don. Kevin.
Meeting
Kevin running. Yeah. One of the things I do want to honor, though, is the intention of the property. The intention of that property is agricultural. We want to try to preserve that, and I think it's something that was reflected in our desires in the comprehensive plan as well. And that's an area, especially southwest of town, that was kind of designated as that. I've reached out to a few of the township connections that I have that I formed quickly, and I let them know that this is something that we have an appetite for. I would rather bring them before plan and I would rather do this in a fail swoop. Taking the S1s, getting 5, 10, how many people want A1, doing it all at once. One thing I'm going to ask council's approval to is to waive the fees, simply because this was a hardship that was brought about out of necessity. I don't think they should have to pay to rezone in this case. That's just kind of where I'm at. If you have any input or advice or guidance on that matter, you can email me. I'll let you know how it goes as I keep updating you. Right now, I've talked to about 6 farmers. Probably, it's really about future because everything they have now is grandfathered, but if they want to build something in the future and do Grain Lake, something it costs, they would have to come in for a variance. We might as well just take care of it now. Apart from that, that's it for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm not aware of any old business. New business?
I just wanted to mention that Karen sent something out to quite a few of us about House Bill 1001, And I did reach out to Senator Bohatchek or whatever, and express my concerns from both the Plan Commission and BZA's concerns. And he replied back very quickly, he himself, not a staffer, that he would not be voting for it unless there were some changes made. He did not elicit what those changes were. But nonetheless, I just wanted to let you know that I did do that. I did receive some feedback on it.
Anything else under new business? Hearing none, citizen input. Gentlemen, anything else?
I do have one thing. I've been here a little
Let's move to
stuck.
commission members' input.
Oh, I'm okay.
No, there you go.
Okay. Well, I guess I could start it then, right?
Yes, why don't you?
Kevin, maybe you can kind of fill us in a little bit about what's going on with the movie theater and what's happening down there. I'm hearing some concerns of,
Yeah.
what could possibly happen. And
Yeah, I've been in contact, with Kurt Neubauer, who's kind of the head of the nonprofit from the East Shore. And right now, they're looking, they put out an RFP and have awarded it to tear it down. One of the concerns is with Diane Hansen's property back to the east of there. It's a common wall, it's not an easy tear down. They're taking their time, advisably so. From what I've heard, they're wanting to have some additional property back to the west, and that is something they have to come, and I've tried to organize it, and I think we're on the books for March. They're gonna go to the fire department first and have that conversation. I'm not gonna play, yeah, not doing it. It has its purpose. Obviously, a theater would be good for downtown, but it has to be done within a series of steps, and they have to be taken. First step by the council was, the council said, take them to the fire department, we're not moving until they've spoken. So we're gonna hear from the fire department. I've been in contact, and within reason, right? They're not gonna give away that parking lot, but there is a reasonable response to it. My mantra has been, don't go asking for more than 20 foot. And I said, bring plans, and they keep saying, well, it's hard to make plans without knowing how much chicken and egg. I said, well, bring the egg. And then we'll make the chicken. So that's where we're at with that. And then some of the concerns is having to do with the height. The plans they're showing, from what I talked to Kurt, because there was some neighbor pushback, and there's also an issue of streetscape. If they go to the full 35 down there, you're gonna have a building that's gonna stick probably a good 10 foot above that street line. And really, we're trying to get the streetscape. And one of the things Indiana Landmark told us is that there's nothing historical about that building, tear it down. But when you rebuild it, match the streetscape. And by matching, I think they are talking about the height as well. The neighbors are sensitive to some of the height. Talking with Kurt, he said that there's a possibility that the back would be taller, closer to the 35 maybe, for an elevator and for the theater area. Now, what that looks like, I have no idea, because there's been no site plans or anything with it. So,
For like a mechanical room?
that's what I'm hearing, and I don't know anything more than that. Without plans, I'm hesitant to comment at all. I think the town would like to see it fit in with the streetscape up there. A little bit wider, of course, height-wise. I think there's a possibility for design of an open-air deck up there. And that would be a purpose, but I don't know.
We'd even talked about that on the existing building at one point.
That's right.
But, yeah, that would also necessitate a stairwell.
It would, and
Yeah.
again, I'm not engineering and I'm not part of the project. I'm telling you, just from a pure, because the plan is to create a comprehensive streetscape up there, and I'm sure when the downtown strategies comes, that's gonna be in their recommendation, out of that whole block, and I'm talking the whole block.
So they just want to make it kind of as an art center. What?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
It's
from
like an
what they've
art-
told me, a performing arts, but also with capabilities of bringing in modern, whatever that means, movies, but also gaming, that kind of stuff. They were very big in their plans. There is a lot of excitement about it in terms of the private sector. I think they can get the money. But that's kind of on them. One of the things that's interesting, and I was having a conversation too, is the property card shows a separate owner, or a separate LLC, right? If you look at it, than what the nonprofit is. And I asked Kurt to clarify that. He said, well, that LLC was bequeathed to this nonprofit. Well, I said, okay, but I need some type of understanding of how that legally works. Because if we're gonna arrange a donation or a ceding of property by the town, there's gonna be some specific legal questions that are gonna need to be satisfied. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be, but I know some. And I'm sure that's gonna be a question they're gonna have.
Does the same LLC own that part that did it prior to all this?
Well, what about parking then? To me, that would be a major issue, because I'm sure that the fire department's not gonna let them park in their lot.
No.
The beach has it, essentially.
Yeah, so that's a larger conversation that's happening about that whole streetscape.
I was gonna say, could that area?
Yes.
That's south of the
Yes.
road be, where that green area is, north of that basketball
Yes.
court? Could that be
The whole-
partially taken out?
Right now, and these are pipe conversations, understand that, but there have been loose conversations and starting to understand parking, the parking lot that exists there for the park and the park itself. That has become an increasing issue. We saw it this summer with traffic flow and with residency and density. We're getting busy. And before I have a problem, I would like to address the problem. So I've talked to Bob, I've talked to Marty in redevelopment, and I've started to talk to some different engineering firms that specialize in streetscape and redesign that are very good. And they're, of course, they're all drooling because they love projects, but we're gonna start incubating that idea, and I could see that becoming more of a conversation in 2027.
Okay.
Build it and they come, I see the theater as a seed. And I think it could initiate a lot more development in that area possibly.
The firm that they've hired is SRKM
Thank you.
Warsaw, who is the firm that did the Reese.
That's right.
That's part of the why they got the job, because they're looking at that type of,
They've
not that
coupled it-
size, but that multi-purpose venue
Sorry.
type of thing.
They've coupled that firm with another firm that specializes in interior theaters out of Detroit.
Yeah.
And they're very good at what they do. And then there's some other private individuals that sit on the board with some connections. Foster, Fujimura is showing some interest, and he's specialized in designs. And
Which one?
Fujimura.
Which one?
I'm trying to think which one. It's the one that worked for Disney and
The one that is
the
in
Michelin restaurant.
Thai.
Thai, thank you. I was trying to get my mind around it. It was the name. Long answer, short question, that's it.
All right.
He's still.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I would agree with that, and
Could be the new downtown.
it.
It's shaping up.
It could be something, but like everything else in this town, you've got to temper it with not tampering with that small town culture. Build at a pace, so, all
Can I
right.
ask a
I
question?
always thought we were a resort town.
I thought we were Farmington. Mr. Bradley.
You state my name and address over, right?
Yeah.
You got it, Don?
Got it.
Okay, but you're talking about the parking, we're talking about the theater and stuff, and we've already looked at the parking already at almost a maximum what we can handle. But you had the lake house that already had that same problem, and already has created that same problem, so to speak, not to be critical, but
No.
you're adding the theater, which was there prior, but all this other business wasn't what it is now. The park wasn't as big, I mean, there's a lot of things there, But I'm just saying, if you're gonna be addressing anything, you probably ought to look at more parking than just for the theater.
That was kind of my point, very on that whole.
Okay.
But sometimes when you reach something to a critical mass, it becomes apparent to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought-
Appreciate it.
Too, 'cause I mean, that's-
Anything else from commission members? Twice. Hearing none, the next item on our agenda is to adjourn.
So be it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the input, and I'll try to, give me about a week and a half.
I was concerned that it might snap, though.
And I
Give me a
will-
gavel, I'll use a gavel.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
When I snapped that gavel, people got